Alright, so here we go, getting ready to cut into the EcoTop. This is a snow white piece, a 4x8 sheet. We've just got a Diablo worm drive saw here with a 24 tooth triple chip carbide blade. Just standard cutting. This 1/2 inch thick material. We're just going to watch this thing cut through, show how simple this thing is. You can cut this just on a couple sawhorses stretched out. He's got 3 of them set up here. You can probably get away with 2, but 3 probably to be safe if you're doing this out in the field. And just like that, piece cut out. As you'll notice, the edges have a little bit of blade chatter and a little bit of burn marks. That's normal on this material. Those will sand right out. You got to play with the blade speeds a little bit. If you find out that you got a little bit of smoke or you got some burning action going on, this is a wood-based product. It's definitely Class A fire rated, but you can smoke and bind the blades if you don't have the right blade speed. Cutting off a little corner piece here. Safety first. I want to make sure we back out of the way of the saw. Now, one thing I want to mention also is for finished cuts, we started out with a 24 teeth blade. For finished cuts, anywhere upwards of 100, making sure you have a sharp blade is definitely going to be in order. You won't have some of this chatter and some of these burn marks I described on the edge. Be careful and keep that in mind as you start cutting into the EcoTop. Setting up here for a router bit. Go ahead and get this thing cleaned up edge. Just kind of setting up a guide board here. A couple clamps, clamping it in on both sides. Get it nice and tight so your guide won't move. Alright, so we're to the routing stage here. We're getting ready to use what he's working with over here, a 3.5 horse Porter Cable brand router with a triple chip, with a carbide tip router bit on that. Most fabricators are going to probably have somewhere in between a 1.5 to 2.5 horse smaller router. The key is if you're using a smaller router, you want to have a thicker bit. So we've got a 1/2 inch bit here and a 1/4 inch bit here as well. The 1/4 inch thick bits, they tend to bend, and which will cause a little bit more chatter on the material. So if you're going to use a smaller router, use a thicker router bit as you go over to your edge. Alright, we're just going to throw a routered edge on this thing. This is a raw sheet, straight cut. Again, we're taking a router bit to this thing to nicely get the edges cleaned up. We'll take a look at the router bit there.
1/8.
That's a 1/8 inch radius.
Router bit.
And what's happened here is he purposely hung on this area just a little bit too long to show it burn. See, but we've got a nice smooth surface here, a nice rounded over surface here. You can get any router bit you want to level this thing out. We got a little burn mark here, and we just wanted to do that on purpose to show how easily this sands out. You're going to probably grab 150 or 200 grit sandpaper, something of that nature, and just depends upon how deep the burn is. But just going to go at it. Couple swipes, and it's gone. And you just come back to these edges with a nice hand sand. If there's any corners there that you want to kind of button up, just kind of makes everything nice and smooth as butter. Now we've got a random orbital sander, got a 220 grit sandpaper on the sander here. The edge is nice, smooth, and consistently, feeling them for touch. You take the same process to the surface, as smooth as you get the side here. You do the same thing to the top. You step it up, start maybe with a 120 or a 150. You step it up maybe to a 180, to a 2 or 200, and then end with a Scotch-Brite. Just kind of feel it out to the surface that you want. All right, what we're doing here is we got a sheet that's got just a slight bow in it. That isn't going to be any bit of a problem, because those things can always be preformed, and mechanically fastened down. What we've done here is we've marked this sheet to preserve orientation. There is a slight color variance within this sheet. When you look at it as a whole, not a whole lot, but when you come down to joining seams, you want to try to keep the materials that you've cut from one piece to another together and keep the orientation the same. So we've just marked it out, and we'll go ahead and start preforming this thing. Taking a little bit further look at what we've got here is the panel cupping a little bit. It's not a problem. It's something very easily fixed. We just want to go ahead and form this thing up a little bit. You can use a couple different methods to do this. Sometimes you can sandbag in a couple sawhorses. Basically, you just want to reverse the tension on this thing. So now we have our four sides cut for our build-up 4-inch pieces here, 4-inch drop-faced edge on a top that we are building. And we are getting ready now to place a rabbeted edge to build this thing up. When it comes to the glues that we want to use, you can get away with 2-part epoxies, but more commonly recommended is a CA5 glue, which is basically an industrial-grade super glue. We've got this Gorilla Glue here. You can get these products at Home Depot, Lowe's. Loctite is another one, just a CA5 glue. These are preferred. They're clear adhesives, so you got to get your seams tight. Hairline seams is what you can expect with this. But these are the glues. All right, so we got our edge set up, ready to put a rabbeted edge into this thing. So we've got a 3/8 inch depth on the router that we're going to take out of this thing. We got a 1/2 inch piece of material. You want to be careful on these edges as you run down the edges. You're using a fatter bit than you typically would use, so you don't blow out the corners. What we've got on this is 1 1/8 radius.
No, 1/8 router bit.
1 1/8 router bit, excuse me.
Come down and the view right at that.
I'm going to give you a look at the raw edge. Kind of see what we're looking at here. This is a straight square all the way down. Go ahead. And we got no power. Here is the finished product in the Greenville, Toronto booth for Cliptech. You can see the 4-inch drop face, laminated edge, sitting on two 24-inch diameter cylinders.